Today we're gonna make Pinot Noir Chili, which has all the traditional flavors that you would expect in a chili, as well as kidney beans and beef and onions, but it also just has a bit of Pinot Noir in it, which just kind of adds this beautiful, complex flavor. You're gonna wanna eat this every single night. All right, so chili, super easy, really fast to pull together, but of course the name of the game is the longer it simmers, the better it tastes. Let's get into it without further ado. First step is, we're gonna cut our onions. I like to cut off the tip like that, and then cut down the center. I like to keep the root intact. And then I'm just gonna peel off the top skin. Okay, so I want to dice. I like onions in every bite of my chili. This is not a traditional chili, by the way, so like don't be like, there's no onions. Shh. So we're gonna cut in, just don't cut to the root. So we're gonna cut little sections like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut long ways, which is gonna give us a nice, easy way to dice. So I'm gonna set that aside. I'm gonna do the same thing for all of them. All right, and then I'm just gonna gather, and I'm gonna hold with the claw, and I'm gonna slice. And I'm gonna make basically I'm making my dice, and all of the work is done for me. And it's neat and tidy because I kept the root intact, and you just end with that. And we're just gonna repeat that with all of them. So we're gonna cook our onions first. I like to kind of, cook those down and work out their juices and maybe caramelize them a little bit before I brown my meat. So I'm going to turn on my stove onto like medium high, and I'm gonna add just a touch of, this is canola oil, but you can use whatever oil floats your boat. And I'm just gonna let that heat up for just a minute. So our oil is hot, and we've just finished cooking or cutting our onions, and I'm just going to put those in there. Alright, so just go ahead and stir those up. We do want a little color on them. I like that caramelized flavor that that the onions add. So if you wanted to speed up the process, you could totally brown your beef in another pot. But I abhor cleaning more dishes than necessary, and so I am not a fan of that method. But you can do, if you want to speed this up, you can totally do that. Okay, so our onions are translucent, and I'm going to add my beef. This is very lean, and so I'm not going to strain it. If you had a cut that had a lot more fat in it, you might want to strain it. But we're basically going to cook it down and cook until all the fat renders. Just keep stirring it, like occasionally rearrange the cooked bits and the non-cooked bits. So our meat is nice and brown. It's all cooked through. We're gonna add our wine. So this is Pinot. I'm just gonna cook that down just a little bit. Turn up my stove again. And now we're ready to add the rest of our ingredients. So I've got chili powder. This is ancho chili powder. You could also use chipotle chili powder if you wanted that more smoky flavor. And paprika. Stir those in. And then I'm gonna add kidney beans. Like I said, this is not like anyone's traditional chili, so I'm not really concerned with, the debate of to bean or not to bean. I'm gonna add those in with their juices because the bean juices will help thicken our chili. And then I'm gonna add some diced tomatoes. I usually use the roasted kind, but couldn't find those, so we are gonna use regular diced tomatoes. Just pour those in there, carefully stir it, and that's it. So I usually wait for it to simmer a bit and for the flavors to meld before I taste and test and add more salt. Because depending on the beans that you chose or the tomatoes, you might have a little extra salt in there, and so it's always better to let it kind of meld, the flavors to come together, and then adjust your spices and salt as needed. So I am going to turn this down. It's boiling, so I'm going to turn it down to low and let it simmer probably for a couple hours. And by the time it's ready, I'll be ready for lunch or dinner. So this has been cooking about 4 hours, and you can see it's nice and slightly thickened, and the spices are super aromatic. So it's time to taste our chili. It's been cooking about 4 hours. You could continue cooking it all day if you want, covered on the stove, and it will be even better. It's so warm and comforting. All the flavors of the chili powder and the paprika mixed with the onions are just divine. And you just get like a nice layer of complexity from the Pinot Noir. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.